For joining us on the I Love CVille Show. Today's program is locked, it's loaded, it's crammed with content that you will find compelling and conversational. We're going to talk about the Brewhaha Brewing with the University of Virginia doctors, the anonymous doctors, the anonymous employees of the UVA health system have now hired their own legal counsel to represent them in what is a political crossfire with the university itself. This story is just beginning. The brouhaha is just brewing. We said this was going to be one of the most significant stories in University of Virginia history, and it's proving to be an accurate prediction. On today's program, we'll talk Election Day. Do they see the sticker, Judah, on my chest?
They definitely see it.
Right next to the rowback shirt I'm wearing, I voted this morning. My wife and I voted this morning. We took the Bambinos, a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old, soon to be 2, turns 2 on the 27th of this month, the day before Thanksgiving, to the voting precinct. We somewhat bamboozled the Bambinos by suggesting that Krispy Kreme donuts would be readily available at the voting precinct. Unfortunately, the bamboozled Bambinos were bitter because the Krispy Kreme donuts were not there. However, they did see us exercise one of the most important rights as Americans, their parents, who voted today. It's not about who you voted for, it's about making sure you vote. Vote, vote, vote. And it was, yes, very cool to watch our children watch mom and dad vote at their respective precinct this morning. A lot I want to cover on this program, including the Jefferson Counsel. Do you have counsel spelled the right way there, Judah? I don't think you do on the headline.
Legal
It's
counsel?
Jefferson Counsel, my friend. It's Council, if we can update that, because the viewers and listeners are quick to correct us when we have a misspelling on the headline. The Jefferson Counsel is already offering coverage that the University of Virginia is going to raise tuition. I want to ask you a very straightforward question before I get into this storyline. How many more tuition increases can parents take? I mean, seriously, how many more tuition increases can parents take? And if we want to be frank, when the University of Virginia continues to increase tuition, especially for out-of-state students, and it starts flirting with $100,000 a year for tuition, books, room, and board, you're basically admitting a student that is the 1%, families from the 1% of wealth class. And if it's families from the 1% of wealth class that are coming to the University of Virginia, ladies and gentlemen, that will have lasting impacts and ramifications from a gentrification standpoint for Charlottesville, Albemarle County, and beyond. We'll talk about that today. On today's program, we'll talk about the Toddsbury in Ivy, a building from the late Phil Delaney real estate empire. A building that has a condemned septic tank. The health department has condemned the septic tank. The roof is falling in. The walls are falling in. There are environmental concerns with the Toddsbury on Ivy Road. But ladies and gentlemen, and this will be news you see in traditional media that watches our program for content for their respective broadcasts and news coverage cycles, the Toddsbury is now under contract. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard me correct. The Toddsbury on Ivy Road is now under contract. Andrew Hardy, Frank Hardy Real Estate Partners, got this under contract. Someone tell Andrew Hardy we're giving him some props. A talented and very fantastic realtor, Andrew Hardy, excellent squash player. Maybe my second favorite Hardy that's out there. Frank, my favorite by a close margin. Just a jolly, jolly man, Frank Hardy. I enjoy being around. A lot we're going to cover on today's program, including the town of Gordonsville. Judah Wickhauer, what is going on with the town of Gordonsville? They just had their trash collector cancel trash service on the town of Gordonsville 6 months before the contract expired. The town of Gordonsville, in a fried chicken frenzy, It cancels a fried chicken festival and is being sued by fried chicken vendors that said, hey, you said the festival was rain or shine. We bought inventory and spent thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars on that fried chicken goods, and then you cancel it and just tell us to eat the lost? Now vendors are suing the town of Gordonsville. At least that's the chitter chatter. What in the HE double hockey sticks is going on in Gordonsville, Virginia? We'll talk about that on today's program. Also on the show, I want to highlight the very important topic, a critically important topic to the future of Charlottesville and Albemarle County. This topic will go a long way in determining the best outcomes for our community. Judah, are you ready for this critically important topic? Mm-hmm. Where can you find the best tacos in Charlottesville or Albemarle County? Tacos, those are fighting words. I have some ideas where you're going to find the best tacos in Charlottesville and Albemarle County. But where you, viewer and listener, or you, Judah Wickower, who has a voracious appetite, where are you finding the best tacos?
Especially for tacos.
I love tacos. One of my favorite foods, tacos. We'll talk about that on today's program. And for those that did not catch the Jerry and Jerry show this morning at 10:15 a.m., you missed former Virginia basketball coach Jeff Jones on the program. And he offered insight in the Tony Bennett retirement. He said there's not a chance in hell, and utilized the word fact, that Jason Williford knew that Tony Bennett was going to retire with that short of notice. I'll leave it to you, the viewer and listener, to watch this morning's interview with Jeff Jones, because there was a lot said in that interview as it applies to Tony Bennett's retirement, surprise retirement from the University of Virginia. A lot. You can watch it anywhere you get your social media or podcasting content. Jude, I want to give some love to 60 consecutive years in business. Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. Can you give them some love on screen? Definitely. Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. John Vermillion. Andrew Vermillion, 60 consecutive years of business for this third generation family company on High Street. Charlottesville Sanitary Supply, doing business the right way, the honest way, the communicative way, making relationships with clients and customers. It's not about the transaction, it's about the relationship. Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. We got the black screen of death over there going on, Judah. What's going on, producer?
Here we go.
Oh my goodness gracious, that's a faux pas learned in broadcasting school, a no-no of significant proportions. Why don't we go to the two-shot and welcome the director and producer of the program. You going to vote today?
100%.
I don't need to know who you're going to vote for, but you're going to vote today.
I wouldn't tell you.
You're going to vote today?
Yep.
Okay.
I go after work. I've never missed an election, and going after work, I've never waited in a line.
Excellent.
I usually just walk right up, nobody there, give them my ID, and in and out in like a minute and a half.
Same thing happens when you go just after 7 a.m. in the morning with your wife and your bambinos. The exact same experience for our family. All right, I ask you the same question every day. Which headline is most intriguing to you and why? Judah B. Wickower, the show is yours.
Oh, hearing that the that the UVA docs have gotten their own counsel, I think that's pretty telling. I'm actually surprised that that Virginia would not give them counsel.
Why are you surprised by that?
Because it's not UVA. It's not like UVA is saying, no. This is...
You're surprised that the University of Virginia would not spend its own money to give an anonymous group of people, 128 of them, that are saying the university is committing fraud and changing medical charts to maintain performance standards, doing upcoding? You're surprised by that?
But it's not UVA that's denying it. That's what I just said.
No, I get it. Okay, finish your thought, and I know where you're going with this.
I just think it's strange that who is it, Mayaris?
Attorney General.
Yeah. Denied the request to give them counsel.
Bill McChesney, welcome to the program. Good afternoon to you as well, Mr. McChesney. We appreciate your support of the I Love CVille Show. Kevin Higgins watching the program, he says it's very interesting that they hired outside counsel. He says that he thinks it's about to get real. I think it's also interesting that they hired outside counsel, maybe the indication they don't trust in-house counsel.
I mean, I would think it would be a matter of course that if you were in this type of investigation, you would want your own counsel.
Over the past weekend, we had a doctor write a letter to the editor of the Daily Progress, yet another one, firsthand perspective of what's going on at UVA Health. Now, the University of Virginia, which brought on a Washington, D.C. law firm to investigate allegations of criminal and unethical behavior at the university's hospital and medical school. Now, almost 40 physicians and faculty say they have hired their own legal counsel themselves. Gladstone Jones, that's a hell of a lawyer name. Gladstone Jones of New Orleans. His law firm, Jones, Swatson, and Huddle. He's going to be representing the physicians and professors while they are interviewed by the very heavy-hitting Williams Conley law firm out of D.C. If I was a physician or faculty member at UVA Health, and I was interviewed by a heavy-hitting D.C. law firm, I would absolutely have counsel present.
100%.
There's not a minute or a second that I would give to an attorney that's investigating claims of fraud, Medicare, Medicaid fraud, medical chart changing. I mean, we're talking about felonious activity here, whistleblowing activity. I would not give them a second, a minute, or an hour of time without my own counsel sitting right next to me.
100%.
And that's called hedging risk. I'm very intrigued by this story. Maybe we're putting this story at the top of the rundown. If you got the lower third on screen, it's important we put those lower thirds on screen. We're at the tip of this iceberg. John Blair, I hope he's watching this program. 99.999999% of what John Blair has to offer, I'm in pretty much lock agreement with. Same with Deep Throat, who I believe is in either Paris or London right now.
Nice.
Deep Throat. I know these men outside of this school, and they're men of reason. Mr. Blair said when this story first broke, the Cavalier Daily published the letter of the anonymous 128. He highlighted on the talk show in the comment section, this could be one of the most monumental stories in University of Virginia history. We were in the midst of offering that commentary when he offered that comment. I lockstep with Mr. Blair. I think when this story breaks and this story continues to evolve, this story has broken, as it continues to evolve, you will see a story that is more significant and historical importance, perhaps a better way of saying it, negatively scars the legacy of the university more than any storyline out there, including August 11th and August 12th. Maybe more significant in historical importance. I'm not saying for the good, than allowing women into the University of Virginia. That happened, my dad went to UVA from 68 to 72. I think that happened in 1970, right around there. We'll follow this story as now law firms and attorneys are on either side, undoubtedly racking up cha-ching bills, Judah, of significant proportions. The lead of the show, as you put the election lower third on screen, has got to be about voting today. I'm not going to talk Harris. I'm not going to talk Trump. I will say this. Once the outcome has been decided, Harris or Trump, it's going to have impacts for Charlottesville, for Albemarle, and for Central Virginia. I encourage any viewer and listener watching the program to get the sticker I have right here on my chest, a vote sticker. And then I encourage you to go home today and watch on your television as democracy plays out. And my hope is within the next day, we will know the outcome of this election. Am I convinced that's going to happen? Absolutely not. Do I think that this is going to be dragged on and challenged? Absolutely, I do. Do I think that the best outcome for this election cycle is a divided federal government? Absolutely, I do. If it's a Democrat in the White House or a Republican in the White House, my hope is the Senate and the Congress or of the opposite political persuasion. Because a divided government is a government that runs best. Georgia Gilmer watching the program. Doctors are jumping ship left and right. Dan has lost 3 of his in the last few months, a surgeon and a specialist. Georgia, who is Dan to you? Is that the husband, your partner? She says, Dan has lost 3 in the last few months. I have also been told that doctors are jumping ship left and right. I want to ask you this question. You're 18 years old and you're thinking about going to college. You're the parents that are offering counsel to your 18-year-old. Who would encourage their rising freshman in college to get into medicine? Think about it. You're going to be in college or medical school, residency, fellowship for 15 years or more. You're going to come out $250,000 to $500,000 in debt. And you're going to be a paper pusher. Less about care and more about pushing paper and transactions.
And
George,
coding.
What's that?
And coding.
Upcoding. Georgia Gilmer says, Dan's my hubby. You would remember him if you saw him from your bar days. Ooh, tough to remember those bar days. I appreciate that, Georgia. Neil Williamson, today's election question. His photo on screen. I hope you're getting these people's photos on screen. Will there be contested races in Charlottesville and Albemarle in 2025? Contested races make better elected officials. That's a great question. What are the races up in Albemarle County in 2025, Neil? Offer that perspective for us. Is it Jim Andrews and the Samuel Miller District? Is his seat up in 2025, Mr. Williamson? I do know in Charlottesville City Council, Brian Pinkston and Juan Diego Wade's seat are up. And Juan Diego Wade told everybody on WINA that Brian Pinkston was going to run for re-election before Brian Pinkston announced it himself. So we know B. Pinks is back in the mix for a second cycle. I would imagine Mr. Wade is back in the mix for a second cycle as well. Would anyone challenge incumbents Brian Pinkston and Juan Diego Wade in 2025? If you were a betting man, would you say that B. Pinks and Juan Wade and W. Wade would have, J. Wade would have competition in 2025?
Yeah, I would guess that somebody will run against them.
Who?
When was the last time we had I don't know who's going to run. When was the last time we had an uncontested election?
This past cycle, there was competition in the primary, no competition in the general. I guess you could call it competition in the general if you're going to call Bobby Fenwick. Was Bobby Fenwick an independent when he ran? I think Fenwick ran as a Dem because he was right there with D. Cooper. I don't think you're going to have a contested cycle in 2025. Who's going to challenge an incumbent, let alone a mayor and vice mayor incumbent? Yeah. Viewers and listeners, let us know your thoughts. Regardless, vote. Just vote, and then get home and watch what happens. Dennis Cantonen, Judah needs to get fired up on this election day. We need to see Judah fired up. Why don't we see fired up Judah?
Who says I'm not fired up?
This is Dennis Judah fired up. This is Judah fired up. I try to get under his skin up with the talk show and get him a little riled up, but this is Judah. I respect that. I sincerely respect that. Consistent demeanor, you know what to expect every day. Anyone should be so lucky to have a Judah Wickhauer in your life where you know what to expect every single day. I think that's what you want from your family, your friends, and your loved ones. I sincerely mean that, J-Dubs. Ginny Who, we appreciate you watching the program. Warrior AG says Fiesta Azteca is worth the ride out west to Charlottesville to Crozet. They have the best tacos and Mexican food around, and the cocktails are to die for. Is Fiesta Azteca the old Ivy Roadhouse? Because I concur, that place is the bomb. Their Mexican pizza is off the chain. Warrior AG, his photo on screen, says that Gladstone Jones sounds like a character from the Wild Wild West. I thought the same thing, Albert Graves. Gladstone Jones, get him a 6-shooter, a 10-gallon cap, 10-gallon cowboy hat, maybe some horse spurs. What are those things called on your boots? Are they horse spurs or just spurs?
Spurs.
Just spurs?
Yeah.
Get him some boots and some chaps. Gladstone Jones pushes the doors open. What are those doors called when you go into the Western bar? The swivel doors?
Saloon doors.
Saloon doors, that's what we're going to call them? Spits his chaw or his chew into the dip bucket on the ground and slings a whiskey. And then he goes in to represent the anonymous 128. We're going to talk about the Toddsbury, Albert Graves, don't you worry. And yes, he shows a sticker of him voting. We love you, Albert Graves. Yes, Plaza Azteca, the old Ivy Roadhouse. Kevin Higgins has this to say, his photo on screen, the mayor of Greenwood. Gladstone Jones does not have a huge background in healthcare law. He's big in environmental law and commercial cases. I just read his first big case was versus Exxon. He won. This is very intriguing. This is going to take an unexpected turn. From Kevin Higgins of Greenwood. Toddsbury under contract. We'll talk about that. Viewers and listeners, let us know your thoughts and help us spread the gospel. That is the I Love CVille Show. Judah, my friend, what is the second headline of the program? Is it the Toddsbury?
No, the second headline is the Brewhaha.
Ooh, we covered the Brewhaha. So what's the next headline, my friend?
That's the Toddsbury.
How about some breaking news for you? The Toddsbury on Ivy Road, a Phil Delaney property, is under contract. Andrew Hardy of Frank Hardy, the listing. The Toddsbury has huge potential. Huge potential. How many cars drive by the Toddsbury every day? If I put the over-under at 10,000 cars, I'd say it'd be right around 10,000 cars. And the traffic that's driving by the Toddsbury every day, you're talking about the big money, the deep pockets, the cha-ching, the cash money. Yeah. You're talking about that Ivy quarter wealth.
Right.
And another thing I want to highlight as it pertains to the Toddsbury. From Boar's Head to Plaza Azteca, it's almost a food desert. We live in this corridor. Where are you going to go for your beer, your wine, your grab-and-go food, your pizza? It's a food desert. I was having this conversation with a developer last week. We have a lot of developers that reach out to us to see what's percolating real estate-wise. Neil Williamson, I'm going to get to your comments in a matter of moments. And this particular developer said, what's percolating with the Toddsbury? And I made the comment, well, Chris Long had it under study period. Yes, that Chris Long had the Toddsbury under study period and then backed away from it. This was some time ago. And part of the concern of why the Toddsbury has not had a buyer sooner, remember, this particular piece of real estate that's in a very wealthy part of Albemarle County has been on the market for a long period of time, an extended period of time. Phil Delaney's passed away. And now the next generation of Delaney's, the folks managing the estate, the third parties managing the estate, are looking to move the property. Whether it's that Afton Hotel, whether it's the Dirty Nelly's block that he owns in Fry Springs, whether it's that Virginia Oil property he owns across the street from the Boar's Head, where you see Danny's Upholstery located. I don't know how Hunter Wyatt's got that Hunter Wyatt State Farm little SUV parked out there, basically a billboard he's created by parking his vehicle there. Maybe he's kicking some rent, kicking some coin to Danny's Upholstery or the Delaney estate to park his vehicle there with his photo on it. But Phil Delaney's got incredibly valuable property, but it all has a common denominator. You know what it is, Judah?
No.
It's crumbling. It's falling down. It's in disarray. It's unkept. Mm-hmm. It's like what happens when my brother comes to visit. a UVA guy. And when he comes to visit from Los Angeles, my brother, who's got a little of that mischief still left in him like his older brother does, says, I want to close the bars down on the corner. We're going to leave the children at your house, Jerry. We're going to persuade our better halves to stay with them, and you and I are going to Uber to the corner for a night of mischievous proportions. And we're going to start at Coupe de Ville's, and then we're going to go from Coupe de Ville's to what is now Ellie's Country Club, the former Biltmore Grill. And from there, we're going to go to the Virginian Restaurant. And from there, we're going to go to Boylan Heights. And at every stop, we're going to have a couple beers and a couple shots. And this is after having a couple of beverages from 4 in the afternoon on. The next day, both of us unkept. The 5 o'clock shadow is an understatement. We're cloggy with our head, headache-ridden. We're pale white, and we're struggling to get out of bed. That's synonymous with the Phil Delaney real estate of today. The chitter-chatter in real estate circles is Dirty Nelly's is somewhat in peril. And why it may be in peril is because the proprietor of Dirty Nelly's, a guy I grew up with, Jordan Brunk, is being asked to upkeep the real estate in the building despite not owning the building. The chitter-chatter about the Toddsbury is environmental concerns. The chitter-chatter about the Toddsbury is the septic tank. The septic tank, a critically important aspect of a building, has been condemned by the health department. The chitter-chatter about the Toddsbury is the building is potentially a tear down. It's under contract now. Now, you may ask me what would be a great business or a great reincarnation for the Toddsbury. Judah, do you have any questions about this?
Yeah, what would be a great reinvention of the Toddsbury?
God, you are so intelligent. Where did you come up with that?
Oh,
that is an absolutely effing brilliant question. In my eyes, if I was the developer behind the Toddsbury, I would partner in this purchase with an owner-operator. And I would have an owner-operator already earmarked or tabbed or handpicked. Maybe that's the case. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe this is what I do for a profession or a living. And if I was the purchaser of the Toddsbury property, the Phil Delaney, one of his prize holdings, I would go in and say, you know what, before I buy this, I got to figure out somebody who's going to run what I'm going to do here. And I'm going to form a joint venture. And this joint venture is done with an owner-operator and with me, the money. The developer, the buyer. And if we're going to do something at the Toddsbury, maybe what I would do is something like the Batesville Market. Maybe you have some grab-and-go food, some pre-made stuff. Maybe you have a place to buy some beer and some wine and some other groceries. Maybe you have a small bar that's got 3 or 4 taps of beer and some wine and some cocktails. Maybe you have some live music, a little spot for bands to play. Maybe you have some pizza or some sandwiches in a little deli. Think about it as if it was a Tillman's on the downtown mall, rendezvoused and had a menage a trois with a Mona Lisa pasta and a Batesville Market. If the Batesville Market and Mona Lisa pasta and Tillman's on the downtown mall had a menage a trois, they could potentially birth the new business that would appear on the Toddsbury site. And that concept, that business model, Judah, ask me how it would do.
How would it do?
It would crush it. It would crush it. If there was a spot in Ivy where you could get grab-and-go food, sandwiches made that could compete with Bel Air Market, a bar in the back that had 4 to 6 taps of local beer and wine and maybe 2 or 3 house cocktails.
Without coming into town?
Without coming to town, and a small music venue where on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night you had live entertainment where you can enjoy the bar scene and the pre-made food. It would crush it. Maybe that's what's coming. But before it is manifested and materialized, they have to go from the stage of being under contract to closing. And with this particular project, that is a long road, folks. You basically have it under study period. And if you find that septic tank is condemned by the health department, which is pretty common knowledge in real estate circles, at least the ones I run in, and you find that the environmental concerns are very prevalent, which is very common knowledge in the real estate circles I run in, and you find that the building needs a completely new roof, new HVA system, and much of the building is in absolute peril and could be a tear down, the buyer and the owner-operator partner may say, wow, this is a big project and maybe too much for me. So let's not count our chickens before they're hatched. But it certainly is news that the Toddsbury, ladies and gentlemen, is under contract. And I want to give some props to Andrew Hardy for getting this deal, at least to this point, under contract. Next headline, Judah B. Wickhauer, lower third on screen. Give me the headline and let's chitter chatter, my friend.
Jefferson Counsel.
All right, you set the stage on this one, J-Dubs. Let me ask you a question. If you continue to raise the tuition at the University of Virginia, in particular for out-of-state students at the University of Virginia, room, board, books, tuition, 80 G's plus, 80 smackaroos plus, 80,000 plus. If you start flirting with $100,000 and room, board, tuition, Judah, who in the hell is going to be able to afford this?
I have no idea.
Let me ask you this. If it
outrageous.
cost $100,000 to go out of state to the University of Virginia per year,
yeah,
and your family is making, let's just say 2x what the HUD household family median income for the Charlottesville metro area. 2x that is what? $248,000? $250,000 median family household income according to HUD in 2023? That family couldn't afford 100G.
No.
A family that has $300,000 in family household income, would they allow their scion, their son or daughter, to take a third of it off the top to go to school? No. $400,000 in household income. That's 25%. Would you allow 25% of your household income off the top to go to the University of Virginia out of state? $500,000 in household income, 20%. Would you allow 20% of $500,000 for your scion, your son or your daughter, to go to out of state at the University of Virginia? What is the point where it's okay, yeah, we'll pay full freight 100G for our son or daughter to go to the University of Virginia? At what point is that? Is that $600,000? Is that $700,000 a family house? Because the point I'm asking, this is why I'm asking that question. If it's in the neighborhood of $600,000 or $700,000 for family household income, for a kid to get the yes from their parents to spend $100,000 a year, remember that'll be $400,000, and we know it's going to go up every year. $400,000 to go to the university out of state. You're getting the kids, the students at the University of Virginia out of state that are from 1% families. And a lot of these 1% families, it's hereditary, it's inheritance, it's money that's been in the lineage, in the DNA for generations.
Yeah.
And this type of 1% money that would be coming to the University of Virginia will dramatically gentrify Charlottesville and Albemarle County. Because what we do know, and history is an indicator of this, that students that go to the University of Virginia, they love to come back to Charlottesville and Albemarle County. And they love to come back with Charlottesville and Albemarle County, and they love to bring their businesses and buy houses and change Charlottesville and Albemarle County. I went to UVA. I'm staying here. Now, we grew up middle class. My brother and I grew up in the copier room of my parents' accounting firm. We were the how would we characterize it? We were the family that had the father working the 85 hours a week, 7 days a week. And the family that you cleared every piece of food that was on your plate and it didn't go wasted. And the family that shopped on the for sale rack, on the discount rack. I'm not saying we grew up in poverty, absolutely far from it. But we weren't swimming in the ducats. And you know when I realized that? I realized that for the first time because education was critically important for my mom and dad. Education was everything. and they busted their tails. I was going to use a bad word. I caught myself. They busted their tails to send my brother and I to a private Catholic school in Williamsburg called Walsingham Academy. Sisters of Mercy ran Walsingham Academy. And when we first attended Walsingham Academy and started maturing at Walsingham Academy, going through the ranks, the grades of Walsingham Academy, I realized then the hierarchy of socioeconomics. There was a classmate of my brother's at Walsingham Academy that legitimately drove a fully loaded Hummer, his first car, as a 16-year-old to school.
That's crazy.
His father owned like 27 fast food locations. I won't say which one because I think folks would be able to figure out who this person was. There was a classmate of mine whose father was a 2-time U.S. Open golf champion. 2-time U.S. Open golf champion. And here Jeffrey and I were growing up in the copier room of an accounting firm that employed my father and my mother.
Yeah.
In the copier room of an accounting firm that employed my father and my mother.
Mm-hmm.
But education was important. We went to Walsingham. We went to UVA. And here I am, 16 years and change, self-employed in Charlottesville, doing my personal best to do well by you, our team, the families of the team, and my family. Unbelievable. Life has a way of going full circle. Jefferson Counsel, what do you want to offer over there? Then I'll get to the comments of the viewers and listeners.
Well, they point out in the on jeffersoncouncil.org that in December, the UVA Board of Visitors will once again be looking to approve another round of tuition and fee increases. Doesn't mean that they necessarily will, but the article seems to imply that it's likely. They also point out that UVA has had several increases, not just in tuition fees, but they generated $21 million more in tuition and fees revenue in the 2022 to 23 year than in the previous year. The 3.1% increase slightly exceeded inflation. In that same year, the Commonwealth of Virginia boosted aid to Virginia by 28% to make up for shortfalls in previous years. A $60 million, and they point out that a $60 million injection into UVA coffers, if applied to cutting tuition across the board, would have been sufficient to lower charges to UVA students by 8.7%. UVA also saw a 10% increase in gifts, 21 million more, and their hope is that the Board of Visitors will take a look at the analysis and contest more increases.
Before we get off this topic, thank you for that color and that background. Before we get off this topic, you have a University of Virginia who's led by Jim Ryan, who has ties to the Ivy League.
Yeah.
And Jim Ryan and his cabinet want the University of Virginia to go deeper down the road of this moniker, New Ivy School. They're embracing this moniker, this brand of being a new Ivy League school, the University of Virginia.
It's pretty good branding.
It's a fantastic brand. But the collateral damage of being a new Ivy League school is increased tuition.
Yeah.
On the flip side of the coin, you have Bert Ellis, the co-founder of the Jefferson Counsel, who's on the Board of Visitors. And Mr. Ellis, who's a University of Virginia graduate, does not want the university to be obscenely expensive to the point that it only appeals to 1%ers and their families. Because that's not what Mr. Ellis came from or what he remembers at his time at the university. So you have this clash of perspectives and clash of titans. We'll see who wins. A couple of items from the viewers and listeners that are watching this program. John Blair on LinkedIn. Jerry Miller, I have heard there will be a contested election in the Samuel Miller District for the Board of Supervisors in 2025. The potential candidate could make a serious run. I take John Blair at his word because he's a very connected man. Furthermore, I know John Blair lives in the Samuel Miller District. No, I'm not saying it's John Blair that's going to run in 2025. However, I am saying that John Blair knows who the candidate is, and he's saying there's going to be a contested election in Jim Andrews' seat when it comes up for grabs next year. He also says, you and others called this over a year ago. Ivy and that corridor is really becoming its own community as the downtown mall loses its hub status. 1,000% agree. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, from Ivy Provisions or Vivace Restaurant up until Plaza Azteca and Pro Renata.
I think it's Fiesta Azteca.
Fiesta Azteca, thank you. So you go from Pro Renata in Star Hill, Fiesta Azteca, the Toddsbury, Selvage Brewery, Vivace, Ivy Provisions, the Boar's Head, Bel Air, and that corridor, and you're seeing that the Ivy and Crozet resident has more offered to them than ever before for their disposable income.
Yeah.
And the Crozet and Ivy resident, a deep-pocketed consumer, is choosing to keep their dollars in Ivy and in Crozet as opposed to yesteryear's consumer habits of maybe coming into Charlottesville and the downtown mall. And that's to the disappointment and the suffering of the downtown and city merchant.
But considering the lack of expansion in the infrastructure, it's hardly a surprise. We know how hard a time Crozetians have getting out of Crozet.
Crozatians. Kevin Higgins, if UVA continues to raise tuition, the impact to ancillary businesses such as those on the corner will take a massive hit. He's 100% right. Friends of mine own businesses on the corner, and they said, Jerry, they're just not patronizing our businesses like when you passed out in the booths in our respective saloons while you were in college. Maybe I added a little bit to it. Maybe I did not. Folks would love to see you fired up. I'm seeing multiple people putting that on screen. I don't mind a fired up Judah. I would love to see a fired up Judah. Albert Graves says, a lot of folks won't like this, but a Sheetz or a Wawa would kill it within the western part of Charlottesville between Bel Air Market and Fiesta Azteca.
No doubt.
Like you said, food and beer desert, so a 24-hour shop to buy food and beverage and gas would absolutely boom. I've always wondered why the Scott's Exxon on Ivy Road, and they own that property. That's one of the vast, undeveloped, I don't want to call it undeveloped, because it has a Scott's Exxon on it. I would say that it's not developed to its full potential.
Underdeveloped,
that's fair. I'm surprised by the folks behind Scott's Exxon, why they don't do food and beverage, why they don't do beer retail of some capacity. They would effing crush it right there. Mm-hmm. Because you're having to leave Ivy and probably go to Bel Air.
Yeah.
For your beer, your wine, and your goods. Joanne Mackey of Keswick. Why families will pay for top schools. Vanderbilt, my daughter's alma mater, is $100,000 and more. If UVA wants to attract the teaching talent as well as providing a campus facility for all, unfortunately, that's what it takes. Why out-of-state students will turn down their acceptance to UVA and go to Yale for the same price. So she's in favor of raising it. Her daughter went to Vanderbilt. Joanne Mackey, an economist and a very intelligent person. Kevin Higgins says, Albert Grays, if Wawa ever comes to the Crozet area, it will be in Crozet on 250. Ted Anderson of Anderson Seafood giving me a phone call. Ted, if you're watching the program right now, I'm going to have to call you back, and I got a 12:30 with a client that's also very important.
1:30.
Today's a slam day. The business is humming. Vanessa Parkhill and Logan Wells-Claylo, welcome to the broadcast. Thank you kindly for watching the show. We got a phone call in 8 minutes, Judah B. Wickhauer. Albert Graves, I love when you watch on Twitter. The old Virginia Oil Company building, talk about an eyesore across from Boar's Head, would be a great place for a 24-hour market, especially with all the tourists that stay at Boar's Head who don't know their way around Charlottesville. I believe that's a Phil Delaney property. That is also an Andrew Harding listing. Andrew Harding's getting a lot of love on today's program. I hope he hears that. Next headline, Judah Wickhauer, what do we got?
Next, we have the car Q3.
All right, I'm going to cut to the chase. The Charlottesville Area Association of Realtors released their third quarter report. And the Q3 third quarter report, do you want to put it in perspective what it is, Judah, with what you know? And I know this isn't is it bailiwick?
This is definitely not my bailiwick.
But you're a very intelligent person. Just bullet points, what you know about the Q3 report.
I don't know anything about it, but I would guess that...
he hasn't even read it, but he's very intelligent.
I would guess that sales are down.
Yep, that's right.
I would guess that there are not a whole lot of new houses on the market.
No, that's actually incorrect. Inventory is rising. Inventory is rising.
Wow.
Sales are down. Inventory is rising. Keep going.
I'm not sure where else to go.
Well, you're going to have to talk about prices.
Values are ever rising.
Values are up. There it is. This is what from the car Q3 report. Sales activity continues to be sluggish in the car housing market. There were 974 homes sold region-wide in the third quarter, 6 fewer sales than a year ago. Home prices are still rising in most local markets in the area. The region-wide median sales price in the car footprint in the third quarter was $455,000, climbing 3% from a year ago, a $15,000 increase. Carr says the inventory of active listings rose sharply from last year. There were 842 active listings on the market at the end of the third quarter in the Carr region, 105 more than a year ago, a 14% uptick.
Wow.
Inventory is increasing, values are upticking, sales are dropping. That's weird because normally when you have inventory upticking,
yeah.
What's going on? Tell us what's going on. Lisa Sturtevant, the bright economist, Dr. Lisa Sturtevant calls it a weird market. I'll tell you why the market's weird. You got people sitting on the sidelines to after this election is over. Yeah. Their hope and their prayer is that once this election gets behind us, in the first quarter or second quarter of next year, they'll see a 2% delta swing in interest rate, and it could drop to the low fives. I'm here to say that may or may not happen. And while you wait for a 2% delta swing or a 1.5 delta swing in the first quarter or second quarter of next year, the values are just going to upticking. So as you're sitting on the sidelines, you're just seeing compound growth year after year, and you're locking yourself into a 12-month lease at $2,500 or $3,000 a month clip. And as you piss away $2,500 or $3,000 a month, while home values uptick 3 to 5% year over year compounded, and they jumped 30 to 35% during COVID, you're just losing out on equity. You're losing out on equity.
Yeah.
And when the rates do drop, and when they do drop, and eventually they will, the competition's going to be greater, and you go from a buyer's market back to a hardcore seller's market, and the multiple offer bonanza returns. Book it. Book it. Next headline, what do you got? Judah B. Wickhauer, jack of all trades, jack of all wits. I'm on fire today. I got 4 minutes for a conference call. I already know what I'm going to say.
Good old town of Gordonsville. What are they doing?
What is going on with the town of Gordonsville? Their trash collector just said, you know what? I don't want your money. There's 6 months left on the contract, and we have to pick up your trash, and we're in the trash picking up business. Updike is the trash picker-upper.
Yep.
The trash collector. And they said, screw Gordonsville. We're breaking this contract. We don't want your trash.
This is after the last trash collector
pieced out.
Said, see you later.
And I think the last trash collector was another local one, right?
The predecessor was Vaughn, a Canada-based Green for Life.
Okay, they're from Canada. Is Updike from Culpeper? Is that what memory serves?
Let's see. I think so, yeah.
Gordonsville cancels a fried chicken festival despite billing it and marketing it as rain or shine. They still cancel it. Vendors said they spent tens of thousands of dollars on fried chicken to have the food ready when customers come, rain or shine. Then they canceled it. The vendors want to sue the town of Gordonsville. They had water issues where the water company said, don't drink the water. Now their trash collector is saying, we don't want to pick up your trash anymore. Go find another collector. You got no water. Or you had a water issue where you were told your citizens don't drink the water. Now the trash ain't getting picked up. And then your fried chicken festival, your vendors want to sue you because you canceled the festival. And you have a mayor who's running unopposed. No opposition in the election in the town of Gordonsville for mayor.
I guess everyone's happy.
That was funny. Deadpanned. Well done, Judah Woodcower. I guess everyone's...
But get this,
I got 2.5 minutes here. You better make this point quick.
Updike has been collecting 3 times the amount that they were contracted to collect.
There's a little he said, she said here, though.
Every week.
There's a little he said, she said here.
Okay.
And the he said, she said that's happening with Updike in the town of Gordonsville is they came out of the gates picking up the extra trash.
Mm-hmm.
And then the residents grew to expect that the extra trash was going to be picked up.
Yeah.
And when they grow to expect that the extra trash is going to go be picked up, what do?
They expect it.
They put more trash out there.
Yeah.
You give an inch, folks take a mile.
But still,
so they gave them an inch, they take a mile, and they put more and more trash out there. And then finally Updike said, we can't do this trash.
And apparently they've tried to discuss this with the city.
Yeah.
With the town. And but really, how are people stacking multiple piles of trash every week? Like, what is going on over there?
Maybe they're having ragers. Maybe there's a lot of fried chicken that wasn't sold at the festival that they're eating at their houses. A lot of chicken bones.
Maybe.
A lot of chicken bones. What's the last headline? 90 seconds left before my conference call.
Oh, best tacos.
Best tacos. First, we got to say Mexicali Restaurant. Can we give a plug on screen for Mexicali Restaurant, West Main Street, Johnny Ornelas, River Hawkins, J.O., Johnny Ornelas, Mexicali Restaurant on West Main Street. You better start your Charlottesville taco tour. I want to do a taco tour with my wife and the families that we hang out with and our kids. We do a taco tour down West Main Street, Mexicali Restaurant, Continental Divide. What's that other Mexican restaurant on West Main Street? We go Mexicali, Continental Divide, that other one that's on West Main Street that used to be in the Horse and Hound location.
Barcos. Moriscos El Barcos?
Okay. I'm going to take Judah at his word. And from
close.
there, we can go to Bebedero.
Mm-hmm.
I think Three Notch has some tacos. There's a lot of damn good tacos in this town.
Yeah, no doubt.
Mexicali Restaurant, some of the best of the best. River Hawkins, Johnny Ornelas,
Oh, yeah.
Mexicali Restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
I'll close with this because I got 20 seconds. Good Lord. You better listen to the Jeff Jones interview. It was on the Jerry and Jerry show this morning. Jeff Jones, former UVA basketball coach, had some serious insight onto the Tony Bennett retirement. Unexpected. That's the Tuesday edition of the I Love CVille Show. I'm Jerry Miller. So long, everybody.